Hey guys, I'm going to play this 32-second clip here in a second. 32 seconds. And in fact, I'll just play it right now, and then I'll comment after you hear it. But listen real close.
October the 19th, 2023, a team with KBI, SAC, KCD Latham. I thought his name was Corey. Corey's Forensic, but no, this may be somebody else. This may be KCD Latham. And NFA training specialist Jason Jones conducts replication tests using a 357 Phyton to match observed patterns on a 1967 Plymouth Fury.
Guys, did y'all, I'm going to play it one more time in a minute before the video ends, or you can just go back. 357, a Colt 357 Magnum to run test on. There was never been a mention of a 357 casing, never been a mention of a 357 round, even in Buford's so-called report, the report that somebody's made up and said was Buford's. There's never been this. And then it comes out that Buford may have shot her with his own gun. Well, if he did, after he blew his head off, he had to go clean his gun because he's had blood all over it. But let's go from that to this. Did you hear how it's in the report? Now, somewhere in that report, it will have that serial number of that Colt 357 Phyton Magnum pistol. Guess what they just did? Not only did these experts just make history for themselves, and again, you know, these guys are for hire. That's what these guys are. That's the business they're in, is giving expert opinions and doing trials and experiments and things like that to try to prove a point. They just used a 357, a Colt 357 Phyton pistol. Anybody back in the old days, Colt, Phyton, and especially 357s, 38, they had the three of them that was collectibles and still are today. I can only imagine what they're worth today, but a Colt Python's a beautiful pistol. Now, they've put that serial number on their report because that's the pistol that they done this test with, this examination, this experiment. Guess what they didn't only get paid for their testing, they didn't only get paid for their expert opinions. That gun that they just done this experiment with, that could be in the Smithsonian Museum someday. The Smithsonian, that could be, that gun is so highly collectible right now for Buford Pusser fans and foes, because that's the gun that says that through the experiment that it proves this, or it proves that, or it proved that this wasn't this or that. I don't know what they're trying to prove here, but it was a gun that was used. I don't know if I'm making myself clear or not, but they made that gun famous. Somebody didn't only get paid for their opinion and doing the experiment, but that gun that they have was an added addition to their, it's a bonus. They're going to get a bonus out of that one day, because that 357 Colt Phyton is now more valuable than any other Colt. What did I say? Smith & Wesson? I hope I didn't say Smith & Wesson. It's a Colt pistol, but that Colt 357 Phyton is more valuable than any other Colt 357 out there. This is the gun that was used in an experiment that was later related to a press conference that TBI Director David Roush and Prosecutor Attorney General Mark Davison held, and they said they had expert opinions, they had opines, they had all this and that. Well, this is one of their experts, and now they have possession of a pistol that is worth several more $1,000s than it wasn't already worth some money. Now it's worth even more because of the history. That is what goes into museums. That is what makes people come to museums to look at things that was used in feuds or conflicts or experiments, or John F. Kennedy's gun, Lee Harvey Oswald's guns, or Jack Ruby's gun, Look at all these guns out there that's been collected over the years. Bonnie and Clyde's guns. It goes on and on. You know, a lot of people don't understand about Bonnie and Clyde. Bonnie and Clyde's guns, there's you some police officers to look at. Bonnie and Clyde's guns should have been placed in evidence, should have been turned over to the state, should have been given to the family. But the police officers, as in Vietnam or Korea or somewhere, they took those guns as souvenirs. Those guns taken by the Bonnie and Clyde, by the law enforcement that was there that day, taken as if they were their own, that was as corrupt as anything that's ever been done. You'll never hear about it, only from Fred and Sheila McCoy, because when we went to the Bonnie and Clyde Museum once, we were discussing it, and these guys took these guns and sold them for hundreds of thousands of dollars down the road. Guns that they, the same as stole. They stole Bonnie and Clyde's. They killed Bonnie and Clyde for being thieves and murderers. They killed them for that. And then they stole their guns and gave them to the family members and sold them throughout the years. That's my opinion, but if you'll do the history, if you'll do the research, that was not those police officers' guns. Those guns should have been turned over to the state as evidence or returned to the family if they were legitimately bought. They were anybody's except the police officers. You can't just take rewards of a crime and fruits of a crime and say, okay, he's dead now. I guess I can, he robbed a bank and I killed him. He's got these 2 big bags of money here. He's dead. I guess now that I've killed him, I guess those bags of bank robbing money's mine. It don't work like that. And that's what you look at as a police officer in life, and that's what you judge police officers at. These guys went on to become famous for killing Bonnie and Clyde, and they stole their guns and sold them as their own. How sad is that? Same way with this 357. This 357 Colt Python will go down in history one day. It will be in a museum one day, and it's hard to tell how much the person that actually owns this gun, the expert that was testing that day, I'm sure if the other one thought about it, since there's 2 involved, I'm sure the other one either didn't have a 357 Colt Python, or they've had a good discussion or argument over it where they've said, wait a minute, I want to use my gun. No, I want to use mine, and so forth. But that gun is now famous. Thanks, guys.